everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Jess. Justin is behind the camera today, and we're going to show you guys how to make your very own full-length mirror.
Alright, so the first thing that we need to do, we need to build a frame for this mirror. And we're going to do that by using two 1x3x8s. The dimensions of the mirror that we purchased is 18 inches in width and 68 inches in length. So we want the top of the mirror where the 1x3 is and the bottom where the 1x3 is. We want those two pieces to be flush with the dimensions of the mirror, so 18 inches. So that means that the side pieces are going to have to be just a little bit longer, and the width of the 1x3s are 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch on top and 3 on bottom. That's 1.5 inches. So instead of measuring 68 inches, which is the length of the mirror, we're going to measure it 69.5. And we'll explain later why we're going to be doing it that way. After everything was marked, measured, and cut, I chose to sand down just a little bit to help smooth out some of those imperfections. For our stain, we chose a weathered oak to do our first coat with. Jess did the staining on this, and she let it set for just a few minutes, and then she would wipe off. After that, after both pieces of the 1x3 were stained, we moved on to a provincial stain, and instead of letting it sit, we would stain and then immediately wipe off. This gave it a little bit of a darker, richer tone that matched some of the other furniture in our bedroom. And of course, you can do whatever stain that you want in this project. We also chose pine over just regular common board. Honestly, we just couldn't find a 1x3 that was actually straight, so we had to spend just a little bit extra on pine to make sure we had a straight 1x3. And then finally, we used a polyurethane to coat over the top of all of that. All right, so for this project, we decided to buy a couple of new tools to be able to use that would make some of our woodworking a little bit easier. In the past, we've had issues with ripping boards, so we decided to get this Craig AccuCut jig to be able to use our circular saw and rip the boards a lot easier. If you've watched some of our previous videos, you would know it's not always straight and perfect. I have a hard time with that since I like to make sure it's perfect. So we decided to get one of these. And then instead of just screwing in pilot holes and going straight through the 1x3s into the plywood, which you could do that if you wanted to. Be careful though with your dimensions and how you do it, because you want to make sure it fits well enough so that you don't end up cracking or breaking the mirror or anything like that. But we also purchased the Craig Jig K4, which is going to be able to create pocket holes for us so that we can put the 1x3s on the outside of the plywood and connect it that way. It'll be a little bit easier and a lot less effort as well. For the back side of our frame, we chose 3/4 inch plywood. You can get any kind of plywood you want. We just found the cheapest kind. We also had to buy the pre-cut plywood so that we could fit it into our car. So this plywood is going to be our back side of the frame where the mirror is going to be attached. And we're going to have to cut and rip this plywood to fit the dimensions of the mirror, 18 inches by 68. This was my first time using the Craig AccuCut ripping system, and so I had to practice a few times on other pieces of plywood, but I finally got the hang of it and got my saw where I wanted it, and it was actually really, really simple. In previous projects, I had a really hard time keeping the saw straight and making sure that everything was flush and even. The track makes for easy, straight, perfect cuts for even someone as amateur at this as I am. And this system helps prevent any imperfections, which is really awesome. Now that all my cutting is done, we can move along to drilling some holes. And this is also the first time I've used the Craig Jig K4 system, so I had to practice on that as well. It took a few minutes to get everything set up and learn how to actually use it. But once I did get the hang of it, once again, this made things so much easier for us. And we're actually really excited about building new things here in the future. Using this AccuCut ripping system and the Craig jig is going to make woodworking a lot smoother and honestly build our confidence as well. So we started with our short piece of plywood, drilling holes for the top portion and on the sides. and then just repeated the same steps on our long piece of plywood. And then we just repeat the same steps for the 1x3s. And then once all of our holes are drilled, the next thing is just to connect it all. As I stated before, we wanted the top and the bottom pieces of the 1x3s to be flush with the width of the mirror. The reason that we want to do that is our pocket holes are going to be on the tops and the bottom, so it's not visible. Had we done it the opposite way, we would have had to have done it on the side 1x3s, and that would have been noticeable. Per the recommendation of the Craig system, they recommend, since our thickness of our 1x3 and our plywood was 3/4 of an inch, they recommend 1.25 inches. We did 1.25 inches and then 1 inch on some of them. We felt like 1 inch was enough to be able to secure the frame. After we were done connecting the frame, I just did some light sanding on some of the ends that were just a stitch too long. Instead of marking 69.5 inches, I did just a little bit more just to play it safe, and then just sanded everything down from there, and then Jess went back and restained it. This next part was the tricky part. We wanted to be very careful not to break the mirror, and so we had to do a little test run by placing the mirror in there, just making sure that it was going to fit, and of course it is. The next thing is just connecting the mirror to the pieces of plywood, and we do that by using a special mirror glue that you can find at Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere online. We didn't want to use too much glue so that it would spread out over the top of the mirror and we have to clean it off, so we tried to use just enough but not too much.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video on how to make a DIY full-length mirror for less than $50. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, comment down below on the next project you want to see us tackle on our channel, and subscribe if you really enjoy DIY videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.